Hey guys, Red the Nerd here, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Hammond Collection Allosaurus. Now, I've always wanted a Hammond Collection figure in my personal collection, and now that I finally have it, man, I want to find some more of these guys that are not overly priced, because even this guy that I did get at a Toys R Us, and like this guy, like he was pretty pricey. Let me say around like $50 pricey. But at least that it was the more cheaper one out of, like the $600 range, $80, $600. What? $600? There are not $600. Okay, well, $600 it is, I guess. I don't really know what to tell you. But at least that this guy was pretty cheap, and for $50, I can definitely say that it was definitely worth it. For the amount of detail, articulation that you're getting with this guy, I highly recommend you pick this guy up if you can find it at a more decent price that isn't completely like you feel like your wallet is dying every single time when you try to find this guy. Anyway, take a look at the actual package here. I always loved the Hammond Collection box art here, where you got, kind of like this storage unit for the dinosaurs here with this kind of glowy orange effect here, and you also got the Jurassic logo there as well. Very nice. And it also is raised slightly, so it gets a little bit more of a 3D effect there. Very nice. And then you also got the Hammond Collection logo there as well. And then you also got some more, you got the Allosaurus there, which actually the Allosaurus is not just like this picture here, isn't just like, printed onto the box. It's actually just like the Jurassic logo here. It is actually raised there with a different, kind of texture where it's a lot more, smooth and shiny looking than the actual box here. And then on the bottom here, you got the Allosaurus nameplate right here. And then inside the box, you can see that it is, kind of this, amber, orange, and yellow with some foliage in the background there. Take a look at the back of the box here. We got the Allosaurus here, and just some close-up of the eyes and just more of what it actually looks like. Very nice. And this is, in fact, the Allosaurus at Battle at Big Rock. That is, pretty important for detail there, but we'll get to that when we actually take a look at the actual figure. So let's actually take a look at the actual figure. And here is the Allosaurus in her glory, and this looks fantastic. I wish I had dinosaur figures or toys like this when I was younger, because I just love the idea of having just just a dinosaur figure that has articulation in there, that isn't just basically a like a statue that has little to no articulation. But man, those old school dinosaur toys still, brought me some joy playing in the backyard and stuff. But come on, man, I wish I had this when I was growing up. Like, I would have loved to play with this. And, well, I mean, I technically can still play with this in the backyard if I really wanted to, but like, I'm a 19-year-old guy, okay? I'm not gonna be doing that. Anyway, take a look at the, the detail here. The detail looks very, very nice. I love how this looks. The osteoderms going throughout the entire length of the figure here. And you also got some of those more spiky osteoderms going from the tip of the head to the tip of the tail here. Very, very nice. I love that. And you don't worry, these aren't sharp, so you don't need to, worry about your kids getting, their eyes poked out or whatever. They are made out of soft rubber here. But everything else here, besides the tail and, the fingers and everything like that, everything else is just made out of nice, solid plastic, and just everything about it just feels really, really nice and solid. But yeah, everything about this, speaking of solid and, durability and everything like that, the paint also seems to be very durable, mostly because the majority of this guy is basically just unpainted plastic. All the tan lines that you see, like all the tan coloration that you got, that is just basically printed on, like just regular plastic. but the paint, like the dark blue going throughout here, and some of like, you know, some speckles. You can kind of see some like dark speckles going throughout the length of the figure here. Mostly like doing with like the forearms and the legs and everything like that. Those are, you know, painted on. But everything else I think is pretty durable paint job, especially the thing here. But I could be wrong. I don't really know. I can't really test for paint unless like I get really close up and like sniff it or lick it or something like that. But I'm not going to do that with this guy. So I don't really know. But speaking of like the tail and everything right here, because this tail is fantastic. You get some really nice, decent S-curves with this. But I'm a little bit stumped on this because the tail here is made out of rubber here. You can see that I'm squishing it and everything. It's squishy rubber. But it seems to have a giant wire in it, because the reason why I can tell that it's most likely definitely a wire is because the tip of the tail here has no articulation at all. Because if the wire was going through the entire length of the tail here, the wire would have gotten really, really narrow, and that would have caused a lot more, you know, chances of it snapping off and then just not moving anymore. But I don't really know, because when I got this out of the box, the tail comes separately, but the end of the tail here is made out of really hard rubber, like plastic, and then you also got the joint that connects into the actual main body. But I don't know, like, you can, I can feel it here, and then it just kind of goes, like, it still feels like it's made out of hard plastic in here that is just somewhat bendable. So I don't really know, like, it's kind of stumping me, but it's really, really genius engineering nonetheless. But just in case, if it most likely is a wire that is encased in this rubber tail here, just like, as we all know, the more you bend wires, the more chances it's gonna, you know, snap off or break. So just be careful about that. But for right now, it seems pretty likely that that's not gonna happen anytime soon. So yeah, very, very nice tail. Love the tail. Probably my favorite aspect of it, because I just love posing the goddamn thing. But yeah, just taking a look at the rest of the detail. No, well, actually, before we get into the articulation and everything like that, there is one detail that I do want to point out here, which is coming to this side of his face, her face, this face of the thing. You can see that the eyes here. Now, glad to you know, point this out here. The eyes, they've done a really good job, because most people, especially on some of their, like, you know, their T-Rex figure, the eyes, like, they were really, like, you couldn't really see the pupils here, but the pupils are very, very noticeable. You get the black slit there. But for some of the figures, it just looked like they were just, like, they had no pupils, and they looked kind of dead inside. So glad to, you know, to point this out, that they actually did do that as well. And it's not really borderline light piping, but it's just really nice, you know, kind of clear plastic. Anyway, enough talking about, like, the eyes and everything like that, but I want to point out, Jesus Christ, my something just fell off my shelf, and that scared the shit out of me. Jesus Christ. Okay. All right, well, enough of that. Take a look at this eye here. Now, since this is the Allosaurus at battle at Big Rock, in the short film, that this side of the Allosaurus's head, the eye is, you know, blind. It's blind in this, you know, this right eye here. And this is, in fact, the same Allosaurus that was in Chaos Theory that gave Brooklyn, like, you know, the PTSD and everything like that. So I don't know why they didn't include the blind eye on this particular figure. I don't know why. Maybe they just forgot. But if you're going to, like, if you're just going to, like, advertise it, that this is the Allosaurus from the battle at the, you know, from the short film, and the Allosaurus does have the blind eye in that short film, I don't know why they just wouldn't include it. But I don't know. They probably could have gone away with it if they just said it was just an Allosaurus, not from a particular, you know, short film from the franchise. It just would have been a lot easier for me to excuse this. But since it is, you know, it is advertised as this being this Allosaurus from that short film, the detail here, the inconsistencies is bothering me. Not so much that it, like, I don't really care, because it doesn't really, you know, hinder any of the articulation or the figure itself, but just, come on, like, I'm a sucker for detail and consistency with things, so this just kind of bothers me a little bit. But what doesn't bother me is the articulation. Like I mentioned, the tail here, the tail is on a ball joint, so you can get some side to side, up and down, and of course the bendy wire in the tail here, so you get some really nice, decent S-curves. Not talking about the tail. For the legs here, got a really, really nice soft ratchet joint, but it's also extremely tight when you want to move it. And so yeah, back and forth movement. The legs can indeed, you know, move in and out to get a all right spread. It's not anything crazy or anything like that. But for the legs, for the knees here, they are also on a hinge joint as well, and it also is on a swivel as well. And these can, in fact, just rotate 360 degrees if you want a broken leg Allosaurus for some reason. Go for it. But yeah, you do get the bend at the knee here. Second bend at this kind of not calf ankle thing here. Another bend there, and it also does have another rotation as well. And then you also do get it up, a pretty soft ratchet joint at the base of the foot here, which is an up and down, and you also do get a pivot as well. So that's very nice. But for some reason, I don't know, this is just weird. For some reason, there seems to be like a little chip, like a little slit in the, where the, you know, the joint is, but on this side there's nothing there. So I don't know why that is. I hope it's just I think it's either it's broken or it's just how the, you know, how it's supposed to look. I don't know. Since this is my first one and I haven't seen any, you know, reviews of this guy, so I don't know. Just let me know in the comments if that is just a thing on all Allosaurus figures. But for the arms here, can move in and out, 360 rotation yet again. A bend at the elbow here, and a hinge joint at the hands here, and also a wrist swivel. So you can get, you know, a, you know, scientifically accurate Allosaurus stance there, or you can be scientifically inaccurate if you really want to. But come on now, this is where it's got to go. And my camera is starting to fall off my table here. There we go. Jesus. For the neck here, very nice. This is probably one of the sections that I wish I had a little bit more range at it. So you got a base, you know, so you got a side-to-side motion, up, down, all that stuff. But it's just this part at the head here. This section here just seems to be a little bit less. I wish I had a little bit more side-to-side. The down movement is really good. The up movement can't really go up all that well unless you kind of do it like this, but I wish I had a little bit more articulation if they just kind of removed this osteoderm there just to give it a little bit more up motion there. For the jaw here, it has a, you know, basically it's ratcheted, so it's very nice. So you get two kind of points of articulation there. So you got, you know, kind of a slightly open, agape mouth, and then you got like actually roaring and everything like that. And you also got the rubberized teeth. Very nice. Inside of his throat hole here, you got some more, you know, roof of the mouth detail, no tongue articulation, and the membrane, like the, you know, the flexible mouth membrane there. Very, very nice detail as well. I just love the articulated jaw. I think it's really, really nice. But yeah, that's pretty much it for, you know, articulation. So I highly recommend getting this figure if you haven't already. I think that it's a very, very somewhat decently priced figure. The articulation is also really nice, and it just feels great. I just love how this thing looks, feels, articulates, all that stuff. I just hope maybe that you can find this at a decent price that doesn't cost, you know, $5,000. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me, guys. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't care what you do because I know what time it is. So, bye, guys.